So Mark Carney just appointed his buddy Mark Wiseman as Canada's ambassador to the United States, and Quebec is collectively raising an eyebrow so high it's practically reaching orbit. I mean, nothing says I care about you like picking someone who's chummy with a group that wants to triple Canada's population and who thinks supply management is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. But hey, who needs Quebec support when you've only got, I don't know, 4 to 4 members of parliament from there keeping your government alive? No big deal. Welcome to Canadian Insights, where we break down the political chaos one eye roll at a time, and trust me, today we're doing a lot of eye rolling. Let's set the scene here. Mark Carney, fresh off his election victory that saw Quebec hand him 44 seats on a silver platter, decides his first big ambassadorial move is appointing Mark Wiseman. Now, Wiseman isn't just any guy. He's an investment banker, which already makes him about as popular in certain circles as pineapple on pizza in Italy. But wait, there's more. His link to the Century Initiative, this think tank that's basically dreaming of a Canada with 100 million people by 2100. Because apparently, our current housing crisis, healthcare system held together with duct tape and prayers, and infrastructure that's aging faster than milk in July aren't quite challenging enough. Let's add 70 million more people to really spice things up. And if that wasn't enough to make Quebecers reach for the Tylenol, Wiseman has also criticized supply management, which, for those playing at home, is basically sacred in Quebec. Supply management protects dairy farmers, poultry producers, and egg farmers by controlling production and imports. Quebec loves it. Wiseman? Not so much. So basically, Carney just appointed someone who wants more people competing for fewer resources and thinks Quebec's farmers should just figure it out. Chef's kiss, Mark. Really reading the room there. Now, Pascal Paradis from the Part 1 Québécois, bless him, came out swinging with a line that's going to be quoted in political science classes for years. He said Mark Carney is proving once more that he's adhering to the good old federal tradition of not caring about Quebec. Ouch. That's not just throwing shade, that's constructing an entire parasol factory. And honestly, can you blame him? From Quebec's perspective, this looks less like a thoughtful appointment and more like Carney picked someone from his LinkedIn contacts without Googling them first. The thing is, one questionable appointment might not sink a ship. Michel Brault, who worked for liberal heavyweights like Melanie Joly and Pablo Rodriguez for a decade, points out that this decision alone probably won't destroy Carney's Quebec support. But here's the kicker, it's not happening in isolation. It's more like death by 1,000 paper cuts, except each paper cut is a political decision that makes Quebec wonder if anyone in Ottawa remembers they exist. Let's talk about this drip Brault mentioned, because it's turning into a full-on leaky faucet. First, there's the Alberta Memorandum of Understanding. Carney's government signed this thing with Alberta that basically walks back climate commitments, which sounds great if you're an oil country but sounds absolutely terrible if you're Stephen Guilbeault. Who's Stephen Guilbeault, you ask? Oh, just Quebec's former environment minister who literally warned that the federal government might be fueling Quebec separatism by cozying up to Alberta on climate. Then, surprise surprise, Guilbeault exits cabinet stage left. Nothing suspicious there at all. Then we've got Mark Miller, who was just shuffled into the culture minister role, deciding day one was the perfect time to say he's pretty fed up with Quebec's debate about the French language. He called it generally identity-based, which in political speak translates to I'm tired of hearing about it. Imagine being the culture minister and being annoyed by cultural debates. It's like being a chef who's irritated by cooking. Miller might as well have worn a t-shirt saying Quebec's concerns bore me, because the message came through loud and clear. So now you've got this pattern emerging. The Wiseman appointment. The Alberta MOU that made environmentalists weep. Guilbeault's mysterious departure. Miller's verbal faceplant about French language debates. Each one individually might be explainable, but together they're starting to look like a really bad strategy guide titled, How to Lose Quebec Without Really Trying. And here's the million-dollar question that Michel Brault posed, does Mark Carney really get Quebec? Because right now, it's looking like maybe he doesn't. Or maybe he does, but he's banking on those 44 seats being so locked in that he can afford a few stumbles. Which, let's be honest, is the kind of political gambling that makes you wonder if someone should maybe check the odds before going all in. The irony here is absolutely delicious, though. Carney needed Quebec to form government. Those 44 MPs were crucial. He came so close to a majority that you could practically taste it. And now, barely out of the gate, his government is making moves that have Quebec politicians dusting off the Ottawa doesn't care about us talking points. The Part 1 Québécois must be absolutely thrilled. Nothing boosts separatist sentiment quite like feeling ignored by the federal government you just helped elect. And let's be real about the Century Initiative thing for a second. The idea of tripling Canada's population sounds great in a boardroom where everyone's worried about GDP growth and labor markets. But out in the real world, where people are paying $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment and waiting 8 hours in emergency rooms, it sounds absolutely bonkers. Quebec looks at this and thinks, you want to add how many people while we're struggling to protect our language, culture, and services? It's tone-deaf on a level that's actually impressive. So where does this leave us? Mark Carney's ambassador pick has opened up a conversation nobody in his government probably wanted to have right now. Is this one appointment going to trigger Quebec separatism? Probably not. But combined with everything else, it's creating this narrative that Ottawa still doesn't quite get Quebec, even when Quebec just handed them the keys to the kingdom. The drip, drip, drip is starting to sound more like a steady stream, and if Carney's team doesn't figure out how to turn off the tap, they might find those 44 seats aren't quite as secure as they thought. If you found this breakdown entertaining and actually learned something between the sarcasm, smash that like button and subscribe to Canadian Insights because we're covering Canadian politics all day, every day, and trust me, the chaos never stops. Drop a comment below with your take. Does Carney have a Quebec problem or is this all overblown? Let's talk about it. And hey, share this with someone who needs to understand why Quebec politics is basically its own sport. Until next time, stay informed, stay skeptical, and remember that in Canadian politics, the drama is always just one appointment away.